here we go again. Yet another celebrity has been taken down by the internet, and this time it's Kevin Hart.
Last week, Hart was named the 2019 Oscars host, and then some of his old homophobic materials resurfaced.
The Oscars wanted him to apologize so that he could do the show, but instead he quit, and then he apologized anyway. I'm Stephen Marsh, random Toronto writer.
I'm Ishani Nath, senior editor at Flair.com.
I'm Elamin Abdelmahmoud. I'm a news curation editor at BuzzFeed News. Hart says he's already addressed the old materials and that he's past it. But in 2018, there is no such thing.
Now the Oscars are left without a host, and I'm left wondering, who would even want this job?
The problem is that there are no comics in the world who are both funny and who have never offended anybody.
Okay, so you are all the wily veterans of the pop panel. I am the interloper this week, but I come with thoughts, and we have to talk about this craziness with the Oscars.
Right.
And Kevin Hart. He was, what, host for 10 minutes? I think, I'm not sure people necessarily remember his sort of half apology, half acknowledgement, so we have a little bit of a tape of it. Let's have a look.
The reason why I passed is because I've addressed this several times. This is not the first time this has come up. I've addressed it. I've spoken on it. I've said where the rights and wrongs were. I've said who I am now versus who I was then. I've done it. I've done it.
Okay, so I've done it. I've addressed it. But did he ever address those homophobic tweets?
Oh, sure, he's addressed them. He's never apologized for it. He's actually just talked about being like, yeah, that was me then, and this is me now. He's never really made the, oh, wow, I did something that was not good in making those remarks back in the day. He's never apologized for them. He's addressed them in a few interviews, and he's got this whole, self-improvement thing. So he's like, I'm Kevin Hart. I'm better than I was, 5 years ago. Well, that's nice, Kevin Hart, but it's not really an apology.
So whose screw up is this? Is it the Oscars or is it Kevin Hart's?
I mean, the Oscars should have probably Googled him, or should probably looked up some of his old tweets. That's just kind of the reality of now, is like you better research the people that you hire for these things.
I mean, arguably there's no comedian out there that's gonna have like somewhat of a problematic past, but I think this example speaks more to how we should or could be apologizing. I don't think Kevin Hart actually properly apologized off the bat. He kind of just said, like, I've evolved, I'm different. And then in the Fast and Furious discussion afterwards, he did eventually apologize.
Right.
But how do you do it properly, right?
Well,
obviously you don't do it in the first place, right? Like, that's the easy thing, is don't say these stupid things in the first place. But if you have done them, how do you climb out of something so it doesn't haunt you forever?
Well, you can't. I mean, you're going to be haunted forever by all of these things. Like, there's no escape from it, right? And then once you start, I think what he knows with this thing is once he starts apologizing for this, it's just going to be like, he's going to be apologizing for the whole of the Oscars, and it's going to take over, right?
And that's why he stepped down, right? He was,
he
totally
can't.
Was going to be marked.
There's no win.
Yeah.
No, I think he had a platform. He definitely could have used that platform in a constructive way. I'm not looking for more apologies. I do think that we've seen a lack of people working it into their material or coming up with a creative way to acknowledge but then also move on. Like, saying you're sorry is one
apologies.
thing.
That seems to be like the through line here, is that no one can actually apologize properly.
Look, we're
no one
Canadian.
can come out and say,
We're Canadian. We're the best at apologizing.
I actually think we're very bad at apologizing.
Well, our standards of apologizing are way higher than for Americans.
They're so superficial.
Well, yeah, we don't mean them, but we're really good at giving them.
But that's what I mean. It's like that seems to be what those apologies are. It's kind of like it's a lip service. It's a thing that you do to keep your brand alive. But everyone can look at that and be like, I don't buy it. I'm not buying this sort of contrition act.
So how do you make a real apology then? I mean, you talked about it like you work it into your work, but how else do you actually say I'm sorry and mean it?
Well, I mean, like, part of apologizing is knowing what you're apologizing for, not being sorry that people are mad at you. Those are two different things. And like, we teach that to children. Like, we teach that to children when you say, like, say you're sorry for the hurt, not just because everybody's upset with you. But for some reason, celebrities seem to get a pass on this. They don't get to ever deliver that sort of fulsome apology.
This is just...
Stephen is rolling his eyes. I can't wait to hear what he's going to say.
This is just like, why are we holding celebrities to the standards we hold for our children? Surely when you say you want your children to be moral, that's why you teach them morality. I don't want my comedians to be moral. I don't care if they're moral. I really want them to be funny. And the truth is, it's not possible to be funny and to not offend anyone.
But look, the Oscars have a huge problem, right? They don't have a host. I mean, who in their right mind at this moment would take that on. I mean, there was like the Bob Hope days where he hosted 19 times and Billy Crystal 9 times, and we're down to like once and done.
I think it's a tough gig for sure. Like, and apparently it doesn't pay very much, and you're definitely going to
By
open
their
yourself.
standards, not very much.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I'll do it.
But I mean, personally, I would just love to see any woman take on that role. Like, I've seen a lot of talk about Maya Rudolph, Lena Waithe, Issa Rae. There's so much choice out there, so I think it's an easy out to say, like, this is a tough gig, so we can't find anyone for it. I think there's a lot of options. They might not be the conventional ones by those standards.
Also, when Kevin Hart was offensive, he wasn't offensive in a funny way. You know what I mean? Where I was like, I think you can be offensive like any of those people. Maya Rudolph has definitely made some offensive jokes that actually,
she has.
but that were also resonant and actually like culturally significant.
But what are they going to do when somebody says, no, you can't have her because she's offensive? I mean, once you start to go down this route, you're never
I
going
think
to find
Kevin Hart
it.
was a bit more blatantly offensive than Maya Rudolph trying to make an intelligent joke.
Oh my God,
Oscars?
okay, grades of offensive. Okay, so let's move on to something else that's offensive.
Love it.
Christmas songs.
Oh, yes.
You know, I am a little bit surprised at how much mail we've had, or maybe it's me actually, about the "Baby It's Cold Outside." You know, the song banned from a number of radio stations. Are you on the ban or no ban side?
I'm really torn because, like, when you listen to it, I mean, she does say no, 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 and then he literally pulls her back. It's interesting that in the original musical, it was originally sung between a man and a woman, and then a woman, the parts were reversed.
Then it was reversed.
And then
right.
it was reversed, which is sort of more funny. I mean, I would much prefer it if they'd canceled it because it's such a bad song.
Well, on that note, why don't we have a little musical interlude here and risk the wrath and play a little bit of the song, maybe in both versions.
The neighbors might
But baby, it's bad out there.
say, what's in this
No
drink?
cabs to be had out there.
I wish I knew how
Your eyes are like stars
to
right now.
break this spell.
I'll take your hat. Your hair looks
I
swell.
ought to say-
Okay, so in the original film, that version is immediately followed by this one.
Night.
I'll hold your hands, they're just like
My
ice.
mother will start to worry.
Beautiful, what's your
And father
hurry?
will be pacing the floor.
Listen to the fireplace
So
roar.
really, I'd better scurry.
Beautiful, please don't hurry.
Maybe just a little drink more.
Put some records on while I pull.
The neighbors might.
That's so strange. Nobody seems to remember that version. It doesn't make
No.
it any better, though, I'm guessing.
No, not to me.
I mean, why do we have to defend this song?
Yeah, I know.
It's not a matter of like, listen, I get it. People are outraged at the outrage. That seems to be a part of the news cycle. This just seems like a weird song to die on the hill of. Out of all songs, it's just like, it's not good.
And
It's
there
not a
are
good one.
so many others to talk about. I
Yes.
figured we'd go around the table and look for your problematic picks. Moderator's privilege. I'll go with mine first so you don't steal it. I used to belt the song out as a teenager, like full-throated enthusiasm until, I got a little older, or I started to read about it, and I started to cringe.
Oh, I can't wait.
But it comes up every year. Have a listen. Let's just soak that in. Tonight, thank God it's them instead of you, talking about the famine in Ethiopia. I mean, it's a line that apparently Bono loathed. It took 20 years to change it. That song still hurts. I mean, I don't know if you know the story of this song.
I did not, and I had also not seen Bono without sunglasses, so that was a lot.
That campaign started after a CBC story. So Brian Stewart went to Ethiopia. He did these incredible stories about the famine in Ethiopia, and the whole Feed the World campaign came from his stories. That song came from the story. But,
What a legacy.
And then it all comes down to that lyric.
or do they know it's Christmas time?
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
the
they do. They
Ethiopians
have a
know
calendar.
it's Christmas time.
For sure.
What's
Oh,
yours?
man.
Mine is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
I mean,
Listen, Rudolph is bullied by everyone until a foggy night when Santa's like, oh, there's some utility to your mutation. And then all the
Buddy, that's how
reindeers-
life works.
Listen,
Wake up.
I don't know where you live, man, but I try to have some compassion for the people around me. So the reindeers are like, I guess you can join in the reindeer games. It's a song that it's past time to do away with.
That's so very sad. Okay.
All right, mine's not exactly problematic, but it's weird. The older I get, the weirder it sounds. Grandma got run over by a reindeer.
Yeah.
She was drunk, went out into the street, died, and then they sang about it.
Well, that is not on my playlist.
It will never not be weird.
Yeah, it's very catchy though.
It is.
Oh, Lord.
Mine is the Madonna version of Santa Baby because it's really creepy.
Santa cutie, there's one thing I really do need.
She sings it in a sort of like little girl voice, and it's really like double entendres
Like
about
Santa as a sugar daddy.
Basically, like, come down the chimney, Santa. I'll sleep with you. You'll give me presents. I mean, it's really unattractive.
Well, you know,
listen to that.
oddly enough, you're not the only one to think that. That is almost precisely the email I got just last week. As always, you have your finger on the pulse. Listen, you're a bunch of ruffians. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.